welcome back. It's been a long time, a couple of months at least, since I've been behind the lathe, and this piece of yew has been on there for nearly all that time. However, we're back. So what I'm going to do with this piece of yew is to make what I would term a vase stroke lidded box. So I want to turn a small vase which can be used purely for aesthetics on a shelf, and also fashion a lid to go over the top if you should so wish. Okay, without further ado, let's get turning this yew vase stroke lidded box. So what I'm going to do is get it down to round with a 1¼ inch spindle roughing gouge from Simon Hope. Form a tenon on both ends. Take the, I'm thinking about here, it's only going to be a shallow little lid, then I can form the vase and see about the lid, what we're going to do with that. Okay, and I'll be turning at about 1500 RPM. So I put it into the chuck, and just to sort of look at the dimensions, everything, I'm quite happy with it. I'm going to put a mark where the base is going to be cut off, so that will aid me in the shaping. So just using a thin parting tool here, and we're talking about there, which will give us a bit of room to manoeuvre. So that's where the base is going to approximately leave there. So turn the speed down a bit, and I can then turn off the lid and we can start shaping and hollowing. So I've got the basic shape of the vase now. We'll need some refining later, but I want to leave it as thick there as possible for the hollowing process. I've got a 25mm drill bit in my Jacob's chuck. I'm going to drill a depth hole, and then I shall hollow out with a 6mm Pro Hollower from Simon Hope. I've finished hollowing the inside, and the walls at the moment are around 6 to 7mm, and they will go down a little bit because I've got to refine the outside. Now I'm going to use the Hope Negative Grade Scraper, the round 1 inch, just to get rid of any little ridges that are in there, and then we'll be ready to finish the outside and then sand and finish. Very light cuts. That's got it really nice and smooth now, ready for sanding. Now when I'm sanding inside of forms like this, I can't get my extended inertia sander in there, so I've got a 1/2 inch piece of dowel. I've stapled some Velcro to that, the loop, and then the pads, sanding pads, will stick to that, and then my abrasive on there. So that way I can sand away and be very gentle, but my fingers are nowhere near the piece, and it's a very safe way of doing it. And when you want to do the bottom, just do that and stick it on there like so and put it in. This one will be a bit big, so I'll have to get a smaller one, the 34mm, to do the bottom. So that's the inside finish now. Bit difficult to show the shine, but I can assure you it's really smooth, no radial marks. Very pleased how that's turned out. And what I'll do now is work on the outside, refine the shape, and we'll go through the same process of sanding, sanding sealer and Hampshire sheen high gloss. Now just before I sand, I thought I'd let you know that this area here, the sort of base of the bark if you like, I want to keep that on there. So in able to stabilise it, I've put 3, maybe 4 coats of pre-thin sanding sealer on there, so that when I sand that I don't get too much dust coming out of it, and it should hopefully then be harder than it was, so that it doesn't dip. What I'm going to do now is just bring this down a little bit to the final dimension for the base, and then I'll carry on with sanding sealer and Hampshire sheen high gloss. So just give a little bit of room here. And we'll just bring that down a bit here. Yeah, I think I'll do. So what I'll do now is just take my parting tool and just make a cut there. Just make sure that you have a very slight undercut here. So that it sits nicely. Actually, it could go in a bit further, I think. So we'll just come round, bring that down to give me some room. Just bring it down a little bit more, I think. Yep, that's better. Okay, so what that enables me to do is to do a bit of sanding underneath. I'll bring this down a bit further as well. I won't bore you with that. And then I'll sand him up and finish him, and then we'll part him off. Okay, so that's the outside finished. I did actually use True Grit, sanded to 240, True Grit, and after sanding sealer and then Hampshire sheen high gloss. And we'll just part him off now, and then we'll get on with the lid. So I'll just hand sand that, take the little knob off with a chisel, hand sand that, and then the bottom is completely finished. So now onto the lid. This is what I parted off the blank. I'm not sure we're going to use it. There's a few cracks in it. I've already drilled a 10mm hole here to receive a knob or finial. I've got a finial that out of my stock of finials that might look nice on it there. See that there? I'm not sure, but it might just have a little knob on there, or it might have nothing at all. So I will hold it in the tenon here because this will be the top of the lid, and then I've already marked an approximation there for the tenon for the inside to slot on. I'm not sure about the design or anything yet, and if I don't like this, then I'll do something out of another wood and ebonize it black, just so you can have it with or without a lid. So that's the inside of the lid finished, and I'll be able to spin him around and just pinch it in the tenon to finish off the top. And I'm not sure, as usual, what shape I'm going to go for if I'm going to actually use it. So we're going to sand this up now and finish, and then we'll spin him around and finish off the top. So I'm just finishing off the inside of the lid, sanded to 240, Hampshire Sheen pre-thinned sanding sealer, True Grit and Hampshire Sheen High Gloss, and I'll be using the bit of a tenon on the inside there, which just slots inside the vase, to just give a light grip so I can finish off the outside of the lid. And I'll be using this, it is actually adhesive back like foam, but I won't be using the adhesive part. I'll just put that on the inside of the jaws so that it doesn't mark that tenon. So to be perfectly honest with you, the internal tenon which slides over into the vase is slightly too small for my jaws, but it's not a problem. I've put the sponge on the inside, and I've brought up the tailstock, and as you can see, I've got a nice bit of a gap around the point of the live centre, so that means I can shape. I'm not sure what shape I'm going to go for now. I'm just going to play around with it, and I can actually sand and finish right up to the edge of the hole, and then I can put the finial in afterwards. Yeah, I've got to leave that nice and plain, so it'll be a bit mushroom-esque when I finish. So I'll sand this up and finish it, and then we'll just pop the finial in the top. I'll just finish off the lid now, give it a final buffing. Yeah, that looks fine. So we can take away the live centre and just undo the jaws. It ended up basically being a friction drive and no marking on the inside, and all we need to do now is to put the finial in. Well, here's the piece finished, and it stands at 9 inches to the top of the finial. If you take the lid off, it's 5 inches by 3 inches and its widest point. And as I say, you have the option of either having it as a lidded box or as a little vase. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed turning it, because it's been quite a while. Well, thank you very much indeed for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers now.